Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Steven Melendez, and I'm going to be bringing you the latest and greatest in basketball news from around the NBA. Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite basketball podcast. I am having a bit of a chill day, and I honestly feel like having a full Miami Heat episode. I guess it's not going to be 100%, half of it, guys. Half of today I am taking for the Miami Heat. I would like to put a little bit of time into them and just talk about them because they're my favorite team. I love talking about the Miami Heat, and that's what I'm going to be all about. But, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of NBA talk as well. And for the first time ever in any of my shows, I'm kind of mixing it up with a little fashion, talking about the jerseys. That's gonna be my top 10 today. So I'm gonna stop cutting, beating around the bush. I'm going to just let you guys know what we're gonna be talking about in today's show. For the first segment, I want to talk about whether Chris Bosh is a Hall of Famer. He was recently in the nominees. There was also talk about him earlier this season about whether Julius Randle right now is better than at whatever peak Chris Bosh was, and that, caused an uproar. A lot of people were upset with that because, of course, Chris Bosh is considered one of the best power forwards to play in the game. He's done so much for this game. He's won titles. He's been part of some big teams, and he's done a lot for the game. And, of course, what happened to him sucked. So when people are, talking bad of him, of course, always just trying to get clout on Twitter. That's how it is. Just always trying to get, even if it's an outrageous take, you'll do it. And that's just the way it works because it brings you attention. But, yeah, I didn't even, I'm talking like this is my segment. Like, this is the segment. Whatever. Anyways, we're going to be talking about Chris Bosh. So, I'm going to get into all those details. Obviously, I've given you guys enough already, but that's a little preview of what we're going to be talking about in that first segment. Second segment, I want to talk about what is going on with the Miami Heat. Just talk about this whole season, what's ailing their inconsistencies. We're going to get into all of it in that second segment. Third segment, I'm going to get back to NBA talk. I want to talk MVP conversation. A lot of names in that hat. One, a little more visible than others with, Nikola Jokic. But you got a lot of great players out there that are playing great basketball. And I want to see if there's a conversation to be had. We're going to talk about all the possibilities of an MVP this year. And, yeah, that's what the third segment's going to be about. So, lastly, we're going to be talking about the top 10 city jerseys this season. I'm going to go through, just off, of course, my opinion, what I think I like or more. And, of course, this isn't a fashion podcast. I'm not talking about anything specific, just what I like, what appeals to me, and that's what my top 10 is going to be about. Just so you guys are aware when you head into that list, and you're going to see, I might say this again before the segment starts, but you might be outrageous with what my picks were. So, yeah, that's going to be those. That's what we're going to talk about in today's show. So let's just get started with segment number 1. We got, is Chris Bosh a Hall of Famer? Now, I don't know where you guys stand with players. Everyone has different opinions on how good a player was, what they did for their career, did they have a successful career. Everyone has different opinions. An easy example I can already pick from is so many people talking, big about James Harden and how he is easily the third best shooting guard in league history. And I would 100% agree that he's one of the best offensive players in league history. It's just a thing, the guy is an absolute monster. What he can do passing the ball, scoring the ball, it's ridiculous. So I give him his props there. But I would never say that he is better than D Wade. That's just not going to happen for me. I would never say that. I know I wouldn't. So whenever I have a conversation like that with people who, are siding with James Harden, it's just like, I understand they have their sides, but of course, I have mine. So I get if you guys feel a certain type of way about Chris Bosh. Maybe you don't like his game. Maybe you don't like him as a player, as a person, which I wouldn't understand why, because he's every single time I have interacted either with him when I was working with the Heat or I was seeing him on TV. Of course, players, act a lot better on TV. I understand that. And I've heard, things that have happened in the locker room or during when they're going to get interviewed that players, have a pretty dirty mouth when they're just out there not in front of cameras. It's different, but I've always felt like Chris Bosh is a genuine guy and someone who cares a lot about his family and, loves the game of basketball so much. And that's what I see when I look at Chris Bosh. I obviously, of course, all the great years he gave to us for the Miami Heat, and of course his 7 years with the Toronto Raptors, which technically because I think he played 14 seasons in the league. He had, I believe, 7 with the Raptors and 7 with the Heat. It's saying here in Basketball Reference that it was 6 with the Heat, so I guess he only got to 6. But of course, we all know that it would have been a lot more than that. He would have easily had, 3, 4, maybe even 5 more seasons, considering where his shooting was as he was nearing the end of his career. Because for so long, I don't want to talk about basketball yet, so I don't want to get too much into the percentages and stuff. We'll get into all that, but for now, just talking about Chris Bosh. Back to my point, because I forget so much. I just start rambling and I forget what I was talking about. I'm sure that's happened to plenty of you, but yeah, it happens to me so often. I just forget what I'm talking about. But it was just the whole situation with I know whether you guys if you like him or if you enjoy his game, but and that he's such a genuine guy. See, I'm getting back into my conversation, and I don't know. I just feel like all those years he gave to us in Miami, and of course his very solid CB4 years in Toronto. It was beautiful basketball, and it was something that we hadn't seen so long, like an athletic power forward who can also be super, flashy and fun to watch on the perimeter. That was not a thing that, like LaMarcus Aldridge was around at the same time, but he wasn't as athletic as Chris Bosh. Even Dirk Nowitzki, obviously in his younger days, Dirk could, pull off a nasty dunk here and there, he was athletic. But he's never really aged well enough. Because, again, I never watched Dirk Nowitzki in his younger years, so I didn't see all those, short-haired Dirk, just balling on people and dunking, taking bodies. I've seen highlights, so I know that he did it. But I've never seen Dirk as, an athletic player. One of the best shooters of all time, but not an athletic player. And Chris Bosh had both skills. Obviously, not that nowhere near that shooting ability of a Dirk, and maybe not even LaMarcus Aldridge. I always felt like Marcus Aldridge was a better mid-range shooter than Chris Bosh. But Chris Bosh would develop his game. Obviously, always add. Continue with his athleticism and be a force down low. But then he'd build on his shot, and eventually would start shooting from everywhere. And when he joined the Heat, that's when he started getting into shooting threes, and that's when it really all changed for him. His game really took another level, in my opinion, when he was finally able to start shooting threes. Because even though he never shot them very well, those first 4 seasons, the years with LeBron, he gradually got better. He started at 24% from 3, then he went to 28, just under 29, another 28, 29 season, and then he went up to 34 in that final year in Miami. And that was obviously, of course, not final year for him, final year for LeBron. Of course, they ended up losing in the finals that year, and that was rough. But he at least added a bit of that floor spacing that you got to respect, because of course he's a good shooter. Like, they've known that for years with his mid-range, his abilities in the post, and he's got a lot of post moves to his game. I mean, the footwork of that man was incredible. But it was just so much fun to watch Chris Bosh. I mean, the guy was a flashy, big, not something that you saw very often, and he was super emotional, which was probably one of the things that adored a lot of people to Chris Bosh, because he always wore his emotions on his sleeve. He didn't care, what anybody said, and you gotta love it. And of course, the post-game celebrations, the photo bombing or video bombing that he was doing, like, almost every game. And then, of course, all the other players got into it. He was literally an amazing personality, someone that you just love to root for. Like, it's that kind of guy. Like, he's the kind of guy that comes onto your team and you're like, man, I want this guy to ball. I want him to play super well, because that would just be amazing. And it was so fun to watch, him be one of our best players. And I understand, like, when he joined the Heat, he didn't produce those, like, really big stats he was putting up in Toronto. In Toronto, over those first 7 years, he averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds. With about a block a game, a little more than a block a game. So, he was providing pretty much 20 and 10 every single night. But then when he joined the Heat, it went down to 18 points per game and 7 rebounds a game. Still about a steal and a block a game, which is low-key, is underrated as hell about Chris Bosh. So many people, I don't know why, see him as like a Kevin Love type defender. Like, he's that bad, which is, obviously, I know I'm going to on one side of the spectrum, the people that, that don't really talk, any sense. But most people understand that he is a solid defender. Like, Chris Bosh is, but he really made everything about that big three work because of his defense. And it was fun. It was a fun thing to watch. I mean, the guy was literally one of the most scrutinized players on the team. Everyone, whenever something went wrong, most people would look at Chris Bosh because he, wasn't producing the same numbers. Like, he literally posted 16.6 points and 6.8 rebounds. Am I getting that right? Yeah, 16.6 points and 6.8 rebounds in their championship winning season in 2013. He's played 74 games, so it's not like, injuries were hurting him. He was field goal percentage, career high field goal percentage. I mean, it was a okay season. He did give you 1.4 blocks and 0.9 steals, so he gave you a little bit of that as well. But those weren't superstar numbers. Those are like, a guy that you would want as a starter, but he's not considered your one of your best starters. But Chris Bosh was putting that up, and he was just always getting slack for it. And it was because this is the way that the Heat were running their system. They run it always through LeBron and D Wade. Chris Bosh was just that filler that can kind of create something on his own if he needs to in the last couple seconds of a shot clock. But like, he was rarely. Like, I remember watching those big three years, and he was rarely used in the post. They would do it every now and then in the beginning of games, try to get him going, try to get him a couple good shots to start the game. I remember that was a thing for a little while. I don't want to say it was the whole era, but for a good amount of time during that big three era, in the start of games, they would try to look for Bosh and get him going. But then, they would kind of just go away from him, and he'd have like 4 attempts. He'd have 4 field goal attempts in the first quarter, or let's say a little more than that, let's say 6. By the end of the game, he has like 9. It just like he would get completely taken out of the offense. He wouldn't be given the ball, and that was the worst of it, because he was the go-to guy in Toronto. I mean, Toronto's were terrible that year. I mean, I think they made the playoffs like once or twice. We're out in the first round. I think they got swept by Orlando. So, they had some rough years, even with Chris Bosh there. So I get that argument as well with, Julius Randle's better because New York is playing very well and having a great season with Julius Randle as their best player. So I get that. I understand there's arguments, but Chris Bosh, when he came to the Heat, and because that's what a lot of people like to, give him slack for, because I rarely see someone argue about Chris Bosh in a good way and give him or in a bad way and say anything about his Toronto days. Like, people never talk about them. The only thing they say is that, he was the best player on a team that couldn't make the playoffs. That's what they say, which I get. I get that has an argument, but at the same time, like, you're missing everything else. Like the fact that he barely had anybody on that team. You could arguably say that his second best player was Jose Calderon. I can honestly say that with a lot of vigor. I really feel like that's correct. Jose Calderon was the best player on those teams. Jose Calderon, like, great player, great point guard. Spanish, guy was great. He's not a second best player. I'm sorry, that's just not it. Like, this year's second best player for Julius Randle is RJ Barrett, who is an up-and-coming player, second overall pick. He's really good, and he's made those strides. Derrick Rose, another really, really good point guard that really adds a lot to their secondary. Chris Bosh didn't have any of that. He had Jose Calderon, a bustin' and Andrea Bargnani. There were a couple other guys throughout those years there. I know he had DeMar DeRozan like towards the end of his career in Toronto, but I know there were some other guys that I'm just not thinking of. But they had a lot of like nobodies. I remember Jamario Moon was on his team for a couple years. I if I'm not mistaken, unless that was after Chris Bosh left, but I'm pretty sure that was when Chris Bosh was still there, that Jamario Moon was on his team for a while, and he was, super exciting because he could dunk, and that's kind of like all they had to look forward to, because they just really never, they were never winning. They were never being a good basketball team after Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady left. So Chris Bosh kind of had to, pick up the pieces, kind of carry the team to at least decent finishes. The fact that they made the playoffs even during his what season was it? I don't even remember. Let me go down here and check it out. I'm pretty sure I passed it. All right, playoff series. So with Toronto, he made it twice, back-to-back years. Once against the Nets, they went to 6 games, and against Orlando, they didn't get swept. They lost in 5. So, they at least won 3 games during that time, right? That's something. But, yeah, they didn't make it past the first round. They had some decent season. Let me see if I can look at the records of the Toronto Raptors when that happened. I don't think so. Or maybe I can just click here. Let's see, 2007, 2008. They went 41-41 in 2007, 2008. They actually went 47-35 and were first in the Atlantic Division in the 2006-2007 season. Not bad. That's not bad. But like his first couple years were garbage. 33 wins, 27 wins. But then they took a huge jump to 47 wins that 2006-2007 season. Big time for Chris Bosh that season. And he had Andrea Bargnani, Chris Humphries, TJ Ford, Jose Calderon, like I said. Who else was good on this team? Anthony Parker, I guess. Morris Peterson. I remember, is that PJ Tucker? Wow, he had PJ Tucker on his in one of his early Raptors days. But yeah, look at that. He had nobody. Like, look at these guys. Juan Dixon. I don't even remember Juan Dixon. I think I played him on NBA Live once. I rarely remembered him. Joey Graham, I do remember him. George Garbojosa, Luke Jackson, Fred Jones, Derek Martin, Ross. Oh man, that's funny. Rasho Nesterovic, the guy that Stephen A. Smith just loves to hate. So that guy's not good. So yeah, he had really, really bad players on his team. He was relying on an Andrea Bargnani. This was with a rookie Andrea Bargnani of, what is that, first year Jose Calderon, second year Jose Calderon. they were able to, wow, that's impressive. And that was with Bosh leading the way with 22 points, almost 11 rebounds, 1.3 blocks. His next leading scorer was TJ Ford with 14 points. He did have 8 assists. I got to give it to TJ Ford. He had 8 assists that season, so he was pretty solid there. And they had 4 other players in double figures. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. Come on. Really? And that was a third-year Chris Bosh taking up to 47 wins. Like, the man could ball. He could do so many different things and in so many different ways. You know, it was just something that you don't really see very often. And so, you know, you talk about the grand scheme of things. Because, of course, the whole reason we're talking about him right now is because we're wondering whether he's good enough to make it to the Hall of Fame. And the things people look at are, of course, you know, whether the player was good or not, obviously. But you look at accomplishments. You look at what they brought to the game. You look at, you know, just their overall success in the league. And when you look at Chris Bosh's overall career, yes, you're obviously going to talk about, you know, the wins and most of his accomplishments happening with the Miami Heat. But that's mainly team accomplishments. Most of his team accomplishments were with the Miami Heat. That is true. But he's still an 11-time All-Star. 11-time All-Star. He made it to the All-Star team with Toronto for 5 seasons before making it to Miami, where he went 6 straight seasons as an All-Star, into literally his last year where he retired, you know, shortly at the age of what, 31? 31? Bro, he was taken way too early from us, man. Like, every time I look at that and I just think about it, it makes me feel so bad, man. Because look, the man is 37 right now. He's 37 right now. He could still have been playing in the league to this day. To this day. Obviously, kind of taking a LaMarcus Aldridge type of role. Obviously, Aldridge retired because of something kind of similar. But, you know, Chris Bosh could have easily played that role for multiple years with the Heat, man. Like, I'm always just thinking, like, I saw it on Twitter once and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Imagine Chris Bosh with Bam Adebayo. Like, how nice would that have been? Chris Bosh could, at this point, Chris Bosh is a sniper. I mean, are you kidding me? At 37 years old, this man has been working on his three-point shot all the time. And you have him on that three-point line. You have the athletic Bam inside. And Chris Bosh was a solid passer for a big. I mean, obviously he was no Jokic, no Bam, but he was still a pretty solid passer where we can make that extra pass to another big for the finish. Chris Bosh would have been so good next to him. And I also got to say, Chris Bosh also made an All-NBA second team in that 2006-2007 season when they went 47-35. Like, he was rewarded for carrying that team. Second team, bro. Like, that's awesome. I just said, bro. Okay. Like, I'm having a conversation. I mean, yeah. I mean, I want to be like that with you guys where I'm just having a conversation. But I'm telling you, like, the guy can ball, man. He was beasting it in Toronto. I remember looking at his highlights back in the day. You know, when he was in Toronto, I was like, man, Chris Bosh is solid. Like, I was loving the dreads. And, you know, just not. I don't think it was the dreads. No, I think I said it wrong. Why am I? No, yeah, I think it was the dreads. I think that's what it was. I think he had dreads on, and he was, you know, like looked like a Raptor. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty dope. That fits it, you know. And then he comes to the Heat, and I was like, what? Like, this is insane. Like, I literally lost my mind. Because it was, you know, because something similar happened recently too. Not recently, but like after the Chris Bosh one, where I was looking at Dragic and I was loving the way Dragic was playing. I was like, man, if Dragic was on our team, I just would, that would be awesome. Like, this was after he had won he had made it to the third team, All-NBA third team. I think he even won Most Improved that year. So this was after all that. This was like the year after, and I was just begging for some Goran Dragic. And then he ends up joining our team. Like, I couldn't believe it. So, you know, honestly, the Goran Dragic one was way more, like, I was way more extra about wanting him to join the team than Chris Bosh, because I never thought Chris Bosh joining the team was an actual possibility. Like, I really had not thought about it. I mean, I was a kid back then, so I wasn't really thinking about the X's and O's or all that extra details. But when he joined, it was just so exciting. And I remember watching his first game against San Antonio, I believe it was in the postseason, and he had like a spinning dunk. And I was like, oh, what? Like, dude, this is going to be an awesome ride. And it really was. Like, it was so much fun to watch. But, I mean, I know I'm getting... Oh, and of course, can I forget? Like, this man also had 2 NBA championships. Like, the cream... Am I saying it? The cream of the crop. The cream of the crop of all the accomplishments. The 2 NBA championships. Like, the Heat do not win that championship without him. Either one. He is a vital piece to those championships. I'm telling you, they do not win. I don't care if LeBron goes into super mode. You know, it's just like having that big, that competent big, because they had terrible bigs throughout those big 3 eras. Like, you know, we went through like Joel Anthony, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Eric Dampier, Dexter Pittman. Oh my God, Chris Anderson was really the only good one. Like, Joel Anthony was like serviceable, you know, the Warden, yes, but he was only good for defense. Literally just defense. Maybe some rebounding, but he was also undersized. So Chris Bosh was our only competent big. So to have him there, a guy that can also spread the floor for, you know, guys like LeBron and D Wade, it was so valuable to have. And you felt it when he actually got injured during that playoff run, which I believe they were going up against Indiana. They were like tied 1-1 in the series. In Game 3, I think he hurt like his groin. He was out. It was literally just LeBron and D Wade, and they still ended up getting past the Indiana Pacers in the semifinals without Bosh. But you could just feel how much more difficult it was to do that. Because they no longer had that floor spacer that can, you know, obviously they put out Shane Battier, Ray Allen, Mike Miller. They put those guys out there. But the big that can spread the big man, which at that point was Roy freaking Hibbert, one of the best defensive, centers for a season that you could think of. And it was really tough for LeBron and D Wade to get an open look inside, especially when you add the fact that they had defenders like George Hill, Paul George, David West, Lance Stevenson. That was a tough team to beat. And without Chris Bosh, I mean, the fact that they were still able to do it just shows to the greatness, of course, of D Wade and, you know, LeBron James. But the fact that it was so hard, like they were down, I think it was 2-1 in the series, and they were struggling to score. Like, D Wade and LeBron James got theirs. Like, they popped off. But they didn't have that third guy that they can just go to at any point. Chris Bosh was that guy. And, of course, when he came back against the Celtics in the conference finals, where the Heat were not looking good, he came through with clutch threes as well. It was just, you know, he was always there when they needed him. And, of course, like, you know, the just his personality, just being able to have such a great attitude all the time. It was like I never saw him. Of course, when he loses, he's going to be upset and all that. But man, the guy was always fun to watch. So always, you know, like an entertaining guy. I loved all those, you know, post game video bombs. Like there was this. But the thing is, there's this one specific one that if there was a way for me to show you guys what it was, I would. It was one where, okay, it was a game, I think it was after the Big Three era. This is when Chris Bosh was the star player on the team. So he had that post-game interview. He was talking to Jason Jackson, and he had a towel on. So it was a normal post-game interview. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nobody else video bombed. It was just him. But then when he finished, Chris Bosh tossed the towel onto the camera to kind of like close the interview. You know, of course, you got to do something. But there was a tiny sliver. Like most of the camera got covered. But there was just a tiny sliver that was left with Chris Bosh still being able to be seen. And he just grabs a towel from the top. Oh, this makes me laugh every time. And then he just... he puts the funniest face on and just closes the towel on the camera. Every single time, that makes me laugh. Every time. I always try to find it because that is so funny. It's so perfect timing with the towel falling perfectly like that. It was just... it was perfect TV, and I like it. Just always makes me feel good about Chris Bosh and just everything I was able to see from him. But now answering the ultimate question: is he a Hall of Famer? And this should be a no-brainer that he is 100% a Hall of Famer. 11-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion, 1-time All-NBA second-teamer, an All-Rookie first team. The man put up buckets throughout his career, 19 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, 2 assists on 49% shooting over 893 games in his career. The man did it all. He won. He did it individually. He should be part of the NBA Hall of Fame, or the Basketball Hall of Fame, I should say. And it just sucks that his career was cut short. He had so much left in the tank, and it just sucks that he had to be taken away from the game he loves so early. So this is just a little shout out to Chris Bosh. I love him. He was one of my favorite players when he was here, and I wish him all the luck in his endeavors. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about what is going on to the Miami Heat right after.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. If you missed the last segment, we talked about whether Chris Bosh is a Hall of Famer or not. Went over everything I know about the guy, everything I could possibly say about Chris Bosh, him as a person. Of course, I went through his career accomplishments, all the stats, my favorite moments of Chris Bosh. I talked about it all in that first segment, so if you guys want to go check it out, please go ahead and do so. But now we're going to be talking about what is going on with the Miami Heat. Like, it has just gotten so frustrating at this point. And I'm just going to wing it on this segment. Like, I'm telling you guys, because I know so much about the Heat. This is the team I cover. This is my favorite team. This is my team. And it has been downright depressing watching some of these games. Like, I know it's not as bad as it could have been. They're 35-31 at the moment, 7th in the Eastern Conference. They still have a chance at a guaranteed playoff spot. Like, I get it. But after what we had last year, after looking very solid in the regular season, having a few inconsistencies here and there, but then showing up in the playoffs and making it all the way to the finals, like, it just all felt so good. And the sign of things to come, like, I just couldn't help but smile, knowing that that last year wasn't even supposed to be the year we made it to the NBA Finals. Maybe this year was a year we would have thought about it like that. But, last year wasn't supposed to be the year, but we made it. And all I was thinking was, man, this experience that these young guys are gonna be experiencing is invaluable. Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, all those guys are going to, Bam Adebayo even, he's only 23. So all these guys were going to be experiencing high-level basketball, and I felt like there was nothing wrong. There was, nothing bad was going to come out of it. But I was obviously wrong, because this season, even though I cannot get too critical of guys like Nunn, Robinson, and Hero because they're both technically right now second-year players. Like, I know right now Duncan Robinson is in his third year, and he's 26 years old or 27, so he's older than most of these guys, even though Kendrick Nunn's like right there. He's like 25. And yes, these are older second-year players because these guys all spent 4 years in college. Obviously not Tyler Hero. He's the youngster of this group. He's at 20 years old right now, or 21. But these guys are all still just second-year pros. And the fact that they were getting this experience already made me feel... Oh, and of course, last year when they had this experience, they were rookies. Practically. Duncan Robinson didn't really play that first year. So, practically rookies going into this experience, making it all the way to the finals, knowing what it feels like to actually, get down and I don't want to say... just get gritty and pull out wins in a high-intensity game like the playoffs. The NBA playoffs are different. So the fact that they were able to experience that, it just seemed like nothing bad would come of it. But of course, I was wrong, and the freaking Heat are as inconsistent as can be. This game has been a roller coaster of a season, up and down. Well, first down, we started way down. We were I think it was 7-14 at one point. Oh, I was feeling so. I knew Jimmy Butler was out. But it was hard to feel like anything here that we were seeing in front of us, which was just making my eyes bleed, could be fixed by just Jimmy Butler coming back. It felt too hard to be true. There had to be that kind of thought in your mind when you're thinking oh yeah, I know we're 7-14, but I mean we don't have Jimmy Butler. It's man, if you really need Jimmy, only Jimmy to beat most of the teams that we played, which I'm gonna go to the schedule right now and tell you guys what were some of these losses we had in the beginning of the season. So first was the Orlando Magic at Orlando. So already a bad start to the season there. We beat the Pelicans, we lost to the Bucks, but then we beat the Bucks. So it was kind of, it was solid. We 1-1. We lost to the Mavericks, we lost to the Celtics. We lost to Philadelphia twice. I remember that was with Jimmy out, and I think Bam was out for those games also. Ooh, my apologies. Also, so I can't really get upset at that. But we then lost to the Detroit Pistons. And I'm pretty sure we had Bam Adebayo for that game. I'm almost 100% sure. But it doesn't want to show me right now. So I'm going to just move on from that. Yeah, so we lost to the Detroit Pistons there. We lost to Toronto. We lost to Brooklyn twice. That was when Bam went off, but we still lost. Still no Jimmy. Denver Nuggets, then the Clippers. So I guess those are some good losses, teams, but we got murdered. Denver beat us 109-82, and it was a bad start to the season. We literally could not do anything right. And again, I'm saying, it felt impossible that Jimmy Butler can come in and everything would just be fine. It just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like that was actually going to happen. So, my internet decided to come back. And in that Detroit Pistons game, we did have Bam Adebayo. And he actually played pretty well. Hey, 28 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks. But, of course, we could not do anything else. Yeah, so... Anyways, it was just very rough start to the season. A lot of doubts crept into my mind. And it was so sad, mainly because of what we were expecting coming into the season. Just a bunch of improvement from everybody, a lot of young players, and, of course, Jimmy Butler in his 31st age season. You were expecting a lot of great basketball and probably a top 4 finish, even with... or maybe even a top 3 finish. We were expecting to be in that conversation with Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia this season. We were expecting to be there in that conversation. That's how good, at least I was expecting my team to be. But then they come out, look so bad, even when Jimmy was there for the first 4 games. And I do understand there was only a 2-month layoff after the finals, after that grueling, 62-day vacation at the bubble. It was a long time for those players in that bubble, and that's got to take it out of you to not be able to be home, not be able to be with your family. That sucks, and that takes it out of you. And so to be able to have to come back after 2 months, for sure, that also ties into them not playing well in the beginning of the season. But then you get Jimmy Butler back, and we start winning. We win 4 games in a row. We beat the Washington Wizards. We beat the Knicks twice, which were big games. But then you also beat the Rockets to start this huge West Coast trip. Then you lose to Utah, which is fine. It's Utah. You lose to the Clippers. Usually that'd be fine. But the Clippers didn't have Paul George or Kawhi or Patrick Beverley. I remember that like it was yesterday. And mainly because it was yesterday, because that actually happened twice this season, on top of them also not having Batum in the second game, and we lost to them also. So it just goes on and on. We also lost to the Golden State Warriors, who didn't have Draymond Green that game, didn't have Klay Thompson, obviously. And it just felt like, sure, we win 4 in a row, but then we go on this bad stretch where, sure, the Jazz game, I can't blame them for the Jazz game. The Jazz were one of the best teams in the league at that time, and it was not looking, they were really, really good. So after that, the Clippers and Warriors game, that was 2 of the worst losses we had all season. And that dropped us to 11-17. Then the streak happened. We win 6 in a row, even defeat Utah, defeat Atlanta, Toronto, the Lakers, even though they didn't have LeBron or AD. What else? Then we lost one to Atlanta, but then we went on a 5-game win streak. So we went off winning 11 of 12 games. Love it. Great basketball. Jimmy's back. Bam's back. Everyone's playing well. We're playing well after the break even. So everything looks up. But then they go on a 6-game losing streak. 6. They lose to the Memphis Grizzlies, to Indiana twice, Phoenix, the Trailblazers, and Charlotte, before winning 4 in a row, or 6 of their last 7. Then they lost 3 in a row. Then they won 3 in a row. It's just like they're doing a little more winning recently. They did just lose to the Dallas Mavericks, but they are looking better, and they have a really crazy stretch coming up. They're taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves today. I promise you. I haven't been looking at the score. They better have won this game. I'll be so upset. Oh, thank God. All right, so you guys just got live reactions there of me trying to figure out if the Heat won tonight. And they did. They defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves, thank God, 121-112. The third quarter looked good from them. Second quarter looked good. They got outscored in the fourth, but they still got 32 points up in that quarter. Put up 121. They do not score a lot. And, man, they got 27 from Tyler Hero. Wow. Tyler Hero came back in a big way. 6 of 8 from three-point range. That's what we've been needing from him. Woo! Jimmy Butler, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. What a beast. And Bam Adebayo actually had a pretty pedestrian game. Even though he did have 2 steals and 2 blocks, he had only 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 15 points. I guess he picked it up a little bit at the end, but yeah, he had kind of a down game. Kendrick Nunn was decent, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Goran Dragic balled also, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Yeah, it was just a pretty solid game from everyone overall, man. And man, Dedmon. Bro, I'll tell you, man, Dedmon, he does not do 15 minutes. He only got 2 points and 4 rebounds, which you'd think is, it's nothing crazy. He also got a steal and an assist, but you'd still think, that's nothing crazy. It's Dwayne Dedmon. How good could he have done? He was a plus 13. A plus 13 in those 15 minutes. So, I mean, he's been so good. But, okay, so the Heat won again tonight against the Timberwolves, but now they have this crazy stretch where they go up against the Boston Celtics at Boston 2 games in a row. Then they got the 76ers, then they got the Bucks, and then they got the Detroit Pistons. And those are 4 of their last 5 games are away games. So they got a really rough stretch here to end the season. Those 2 Boston Celtics games are probably the most important of the entire season. I'm going to tell you right now that facts. Like the 2 most important games are coming up this Sunday and Tuesday. Because right now, the Miami Heat at 6-31 now, right? I believe we're 36-31. They're 6th in the Eastern Conference, and they currently have a guaranteed spot in the playoffs, with a chance at possibly reaching the Knicks, maybe even the Hawks for 4th, reaching the Hawks for 5th, maybe the Knicks for 4th. Because right now, if everything started, the Heat would be taking on the Bucks in the first round. And I don't know about, I know that we beat them in 5 games last season, but that would only make them want to beat us even more. And I would be so afraid of getting absolutely demolished in that series by Giannis Antetokounmpo, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. I really wouldn't want to see it, but I mean, it could happen. I mean, it's set to happen right now, and it looks, I mean, even though Brooklyn could fall out of that 2nd seed, oh my God, I don't want to take on Brooklyn. Oh, heck no. Even though it happened in the next round if we don't get into that 4th, 5th spot. Regardless, having to go up against Milwaukee, that's going to be rough. Especially the way we've been playing this season. It has not been good. It has not been good. So, and that's what I'm getting into in this game. Like, it's just so many inconsistencies. Like, this game today, I should have felt super confident that my team would have beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, but I have absolutely none. I still expect them to, because, like, you know what, I'm gonna expect them just to lose. No, I'm obviously not gonna be like that, but I'm not confident that they'll win. There's a difference between expecting them to lose and being confident that they'll win. It's just because I just don't know what team will show up on any given night. You know, maybe you'll get the team that can beat a Utah Jazz and play very well, or beat, I don't know, a Minnesota Timberwolves on a good night for the Timberwolves. Regardless, I just feel like they haven't looked like that team. Last year, they looked like that team. They were beating all the weaker teams, were doing everything they needed to there. They fell off a little bit at the end, and even against the bigger teams, they had some big games. So it was like all across the board, the Miami Heat were looking good. This season, they have looked inconsistent against every team. It doesn't matter whether they're good, they're bad, they're in between, anything. It's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things, because the Miami Heat, at least this team currently constructed, just doesn't. I honestly wish I knew what it was, like whether it's chemistry, which I don't think it is, because most of these guys have been together for at least 2 or 3 seasons now. At least two. And I mean, last year they looked great together, and I doubt any of the new people coming in. Like Trevor Ariza is a great personality, and you got, of course, you always got UD locking it up in the locker room, making sure everything's good, but I don't know, maybe it's just like the intensity that they play with, because I see it sometimes where they're trying very hard, but maybe it could be that also, that they're trying too hard. Like the season didn't go the way they were expecting it to, like from pretty much start to finish, but then so they maybe get some tendencies of wanting to try too hard. And honestly, I have no complaints about what I've seen from either Jimmy Butler or Bam. Like either of the two stars, like maybe from Bam a little bit is passiveness, which has always been a thing. Something I literally always talk about with Bam. You know, the fact that he's so passive, doesn't want to shoot the ball, doesn't want to take over a game, though then he got that game winner against, who was it against? Was it against Brooklyn? No. Was it? I think it was against Brooklyn. Yeah, it was against Brooklyn. So that game winner he had against the Brooklyn Nets, like he's had the best. Honestly, let's take on the Brooklyn Nets in the first round so we can see an absolutely incredible Bam Adebayo, because he loves taking on the Nets. He absolutely loves it. He goes insane. So, you know, he doesn't do that as much, but then, you know, he has other games where he's just looking like he can beat anybody off the dribble. He can shoot any jump shot. And it's maybe that's like the only thing where it's like, man, just consistently do your thing. Like, I know you're a great player. You don't need to, you know, like try to get, like you can get others involved, but you don't have to just take yourself out of the game by doing that. Like, that's not the way to do it. But that's the way he does it a lot of the time. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, no complaints. Like, none at all. Like, even with no three-point shot, it does not matter. Like, obviously, if he was able to get some resemblance of a three-point shot, like 33%, even. I'll even take 33%. He would be a totally different player. He'd be one of the best players in the NBA, which then is going to lead me to my next segment, the MVP conversation, but I'll get into that later. It's just, he's having an incredible season this year. The man is putting up, 22 points a game? Let me get to that right now. 21.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2.1 steals. That leads the league, by the way, and is doing it on great efficiency. 49% from the field. Obviously, the three-point shooting, like I said, it's not there. But 86, almost 87% from the free throw line. He's doing it in so many different ways, and of course, giving it to us every single night on the defensive end. He's keeping those turnovers down as well. Only 2 turnovers a game. For 7 assists, that's 7-2, that turnover assist ratio, that's not bad at all. That's actually a very good ratio. So, and the fact that he's our main ball handler, he leads the team in assists, second in rebounds, obviously leads the league in steals. So, he's going to get an all-defensive team. He better get an all-defensive team selection this year. I don't think he's going to be able to make it to the all-NBA team just because of all the games he's missed, but he's still having an incredible year. Like, if he would have been able to play, because look, of the 72 games, if Jimmy Butler plays all of them, he'll get to 53, I think it'll be 53 or 54, and 54 of 72 games, like, that's just too little. That's too little. They can't give him that. It just wouldn't be right. And so I know Jimmy Butler's not going to be on the list, but what an incredible season he's had. I mean, A++++. Like, there's nothing I can say wrong about Jimmy Butler, because when we're in bad spots, he gets us out of it. Bam Adebayo, he doesn't do that yet. Like, with Bam, I'd give this season like a B+, maybe. I think it's like I'm between B+ and B, because it's just like he's doing great things. He's showing us a lot of things in flashes, averaging 19 points a game, 9 rebounds, still giving us great defense. And the passing's still there. But it's just the inconsistencies in his style of play. That's the only thing I would say about Bam Adebayo, which I guess maybe doesn't warrant a B grade. Maybe it's an A-. I don't know. I guess now I'm between B+ and A-, whatever. But still, it's like that's the kind of season Bam's had. Like, it's like I don't know which way to go with him, because like I love what I'm seeing from him, but then it's like I know he can give us so much more. So why don't you? Whatever. Duncan Robinson, for me, it's like a B-. Like, he could have done, like, maybe a B. Because he has made improvements on defense. His three-point shooting has gotten much better since it was really garbage in the beginning of the season. And the main thing is his defense. What kind of a, change it's really made to this team. The fact that doesn't need to be hidden on everybody every time now. Like, he can measure up with somebody, and that really makes the defense work so much better. Tyler Hero, I give him like a C+. He's third on the team in scoring, but it's just he's so inconsistent, and that obviously seems to be the story with this whole team. The fact that they're so inconsistent at every single player. This is something I wanted to say, because I want to talk about Kendrick Nunn as well, that I would never in my entire life would have imagined that I'd be saying that of all the guards on the Heat, and I'm not considering Jimmy Butler a guard, I'm considering him a forward. Of all the guards on the team, I never would have imagined that Kendrick Nunn would have been the best one of all of them. Never. I would have put my money on Goran Dragic before him, even Tyler Hero. I expected Kendrick Nunn to be the third, just a guy on the side, not really doing much, because there was going to be so much time given to Tyler Hero and Goran Dragic. He'd be a backup, and then obviously if a guy like Victor Oladipo came in, I wouldn't think he'd play at all. But he has been so consistently good, shooting great from the field, 47% from the field, almost 39% from three. 92% from the from the free throw line, gives you 3 rebounds, almost 3 assists a game, gives you much better defense this season, have to admit that this season much better defensively, and that's what's taken his game to another level. It's really allowed him to be put out there for the late stretches of the game because he's no longer a liability on the defensive end. You couldn't have both Nunn and Robinson on the floor at the same time when they were both bad defenders. It was really tough to have them out there. But now it makes it much easier since they are more capable at defending. They're not great defenders. They're not average. They're below average, but still much better than the really bad defense they were giving us before. But overall, when I'm really just talking about this team, I can't help but just mention the inconsistencies. And it really goes back. You can literally go from like last season to this season. Last season, they were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the entire league. Duncan Robinson, incredible. Tyler Hero, incredible. Dragic, incredible. Even Kelly Olynyk, when he was here, incredible. Even Kendrick Nunn was hitting his threes. Everybody was hitting threes. This season, it's a totally different thing. Totally different. They're what? Let me see if I can get those numbers. They are now 25th in the league in three-point percentage. They still shoot a lot. 11th place in three-point field goal attempted, but 25th in three-point percentage. 25th after you were second last season. That's easily the biggest difference for the Heat this year. The fact that they've, gone stone cold from the three-point line. If that changes in any way, no playoff team's going to want to face them. So the inconsistencies, the bad shooting, the bench. It's been a big mess this whole season, but hopefully the Heat can turn it around as we near closer and closer to this playoff time. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this conversation. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the MVP conversation in the NBA this season right after this.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. If you missed the last segment, we talked about the Miami Heat and what is going on with them this season. I talked about pretty much what the roller coaster ride I've been going through this whole year. You get it from a fan perspective because, as you guys know, I am a huge Miami Heat fan. And now we're going to be talking about the MVP conversation that is going on in the NBA. Honestly, this year, it might not really be that much of a conversation anymore because, as we all know, Nikola Jokic has been an absolute monster this season. So, yes, in a way, I'm not going to lie, try to just build a segment off, can Chris Paul do enough to be... No. Jokic is more than likely going to be the MVP this season. That is not the conversation I'm trying to have. I'm trying to talk about these other players that have had incredible seasons and what are their cases for MVP. I'm going to talk about it because, yes, Nikola Jokic has a case of his own, continuously having Denver competing each season. I mean, I know this is about this season, but That guy has been keeping Denver as competitive as they have been in a long time consistently. I don't know why that took so long. Sorry. But yeah, consistently. And this season, he's done even more. The man's averaging 26 points a game on top of 11 rebounds and 8.4 assists. Almost a triple-double for a center. The man has skills beyond anything we've ever seen before. I'm talking, there's nobody in the history of basketball that plays the game the way Nikola Jokic does. He is one of one. Very similar to a Bam Adebayo. I'm always going to be a little homer in my own way. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous what we have seen from Nikola Jokic this year. I'm serious. When I see that guy play, I've seen highlights. Obviously, I see him when he plays the Heat, and the guy is a force of nature. You know, he's not an athletically, skilled big. He's skilled. I just meant athletically gifted. That's what I meant to say. He's not an athletically gifted big, although he's low key, can hammer it down every now and then. But that's not his game. He's not athletic. He is as smart as they come. He is one of the best. He's one of the best pick and roll defenders that I've seen. That is a low key. That is one of the lowest key things that needs to be said here. How good of a pick and roll defender Nikola Jokic is, and I think it's because of his which it seems like an obvious answer, but it's his playmaking that he has. Just that ability to pass the ball. His knowledge of that allows him to be able to know how to defend the pick and rolls. That's the way I make it up. That's what I think. But on top of that, being able to lead this Denver Nuggets team to a top 4 seed. If I'm not mistaken, that's where Denver is right now. Right? Don't tell me I'm wrong. Yeah, they're fourth in the Eastern. They're fourth in the Western Conference. So to a top 4 seed, they haven't been with Jamal Murray, their second best player, for 10 plus games now. I know Michael Porter Jr. is taking a bit of a leap right now. However, Jokic has been the mainstay. He has been the superstar. He has been their best player, and he is the best player this entire season. And that is why Jokic should be the MVP. See, so it's like that. That's what I want to do for all these players. The Chris Pauls, the Damien Lillards, the Jimmy Butlers, even the Luka Doncics, and then the Joel Embiid. Now, he probably has the next best case at making it into the MVP conversation. The biggest issue is his games played. He has 47 games played compared to 66 for Nikola Jokic. So not only has Jokic been playing at a high level, probably higher than anybody this season, but he's been playing consistently all year as well. 66 games played right now, he hasn't missed any games. Has he not missed a single game this season? That is absolutely ridiculous. I'm just thinking about that right now. He can't. If anything, he's missed one game, maybe. I don't know how many games they played. No, yeah, they're 44-22. They're 44-22. He's played every single game this season. That in of itself is absolutely incredible during a season like this, when with the pandemic, with all the protocols, for him to not once get a safety, health and safety protocol, a sprained ankle, a headache, a flu, anything to keep him out of a game. He did not. And he's been in the game at the end. So that's the easiest argument against Joel Embiid getting the MVP award this year. But you just look at his game overall and what he has done for the Philadelphia 76ers this season. He is averaging 29 points a game. 29. With 11 rebounds a game, 3 assists, and gives you excellent defending. He is a great rim protector, and he can also steal the ball. He's got 1 steal a game and 1.4 blocks a game. The man can literally do it all on both sides of the floor, and he can shoot the ball. He's not, you wouldn't want him to just, live at the 3-point line, but he does take 3 attempts a game. at 36% from the field, from the three-point line, I should say. And it was dropping over the past couple seasons. So for him to take that leap this year and, and kind of get that three-point shooting back to what it was, it's a good sign. And then obviously he still gives you efficient looks. And he's one of those guys that can just take over a game. That's what you get with Joel Embiid. And if he had played more games, this would be a much tighter conversation. Like, Nikola Jokic would not be guaranteed an MVP. It could go either way because Joel Embiid was playing that well. I understand Jokic is a much better passer. Like, he averages almost 5 assists, more than 5 assists more than Joel Embiid. And the defense is pretty even. Like, Joel Embiid's a better defender. But, and offensively, they're also pretty even. Like, it's a close race if Embiid had played more games. The fact that he's missed almost 20 games of the season means he's not going to have a chance at it. But he's played so well that he's still going to be considered, of course. Let's see, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, the same line doesn't really work for him because 56 games played. Like, he's played a good amount of the games already, and the thing is for him, it's got to be photo fatigue. Because, the guy's having another ridiculous season. 28 points a game on 56% shooting, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.2 steals, 1.3 blocks. So still giving you that ridiculous defending every single night. Free throw shooting is taking a little bit of a dip, but it's still 69%. Not terrible. His three-point shooting is still pretty bleak, 31%. But he's still going to give you efficient numbers, always, every night. And he has been a real driving force for this Milwaukee Bucks team. Of course, having Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday certainly helps, but Giannis Antetokounmpo has been the man for Milwaukee Bucks this season. Maybe the one reason he won't get MVPs because, first of all, Joel Embiid and his Philadelphia 76ers have the number 1 seed. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Milwaukee Bucks have not been as dominant as they have been in previous years. And that's really the main conversation. The fact that the Milwaukee Bucks are not as dominant. Giannis Antetokounmpo is, but the team as a whole is just not clicking as it did the previous seasons. So you got the Milwaukee Bucks and probably failing Giannis Antetokounmpo here. Because, the numbers are incredible, like I told you guys. The efficiency is there. He's doing it all. So he's certainly in that top 3 discussion, even though, like we know, Jokic is running away with it. Next, we got Kawhi Leonard, who once again putting away a very solid season. But just like Joel Embiid, he has missed a lot of games, a lot of that load management that they love to do over there in LA. You got 49 games played of the possible, 67 for the LA Clippers. So, but in those 49 games he's played, he's averaged 25 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.6 steals. The man is really, really good, and he does it efficiently. 51%, almost 52% from the field, almost 40% from 3, and 88% from the free throw line. He just does so many things well. He does it efficiently. And he gives you, as always, that lockdown defense on the other side of the floor. The man is as two-way as they come. And certainly, if he had played a good amount of games, he needed to at least get into that 55-plus range. He had to be there. 60-plus, and you're obviously good. But 55 plus at least to be in the conversation, and he just didn't make it there. But he certainly would have been had he played those games. Because he's having a phenomenal season for the LA Clippers, and that's why they're 45-22 right now. I believe third in the Western Conference. You see, on the 5th on these rankings. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention this, but I'm going off Basketball Reference's MVP award tracker. I'm going off those 10 players, just kind of talking about those guys specifically. So Luka Doncic is 5th. 38-28 are the Dallas Mavericks. Looking pretty solid after a rough start to the season. They've kind of gotten it together. He has played 60 games, so he has been available. And he's shooting efficiently, 48% from the field, 36% from 3, although he started terribly. So he's actually been shooting a lot better since that start to the season. 28 points per game, 28 and a half, I should say. 8 rebounds, 9 assists, a steal a game. And I know he's got a steal a game, but his defense is still very mediocre. Very mediocre. Luka Doncic, now the biggest reason here would probably be the way that the season has gone for the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Because the numbers are ridiculous. 28 and a half, 8 and 9. That's big time superstar numbers. And even MVP type numbers. But the numbers aren't as impactful on the record of the Dallas Mavericks as with these other players that we've talked about. Even Kawhi, Giannis, Joel, and Nikola Jokic all have their teams over 42 wins. Luka Doncic at 38 is still not terrible, but he needs to take it up another notch to really, and he also needs help around him, but to really get this team, and I mean, he has done a lot. I really don't want to undermine what Luka Doncic has done for the Dallas Mavericks this season. I mean, the clutch shots that he's made, like that one against the Celtics, was absolutely ridiculous. And he's done it multiple times. The runner where he technically he took off from the 3-point line, but took a floater from the 3-point line. I forgot who that was against. I think it was the Trailblazers, and he makes it. It's stupid. The man literally makes magic happen. That's why they call him Luka Magic, and he certainly is going to be in the MVP conversation for years to come. This is just the start of it. I mean, I would not be surprised if he averages a double-double on the season. Or not this season, but in a season, I should say. He certainly has that ability, and he's got that just X factor about him. So he definitely deserves to be in this top 5 discussion because he has had that type of season. So number 6, we have Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert, the main thing you can say here is, I mean, his team has the best record in the league. His team has the best record in the league, and they're also one of the best defensive teams in the league. And a lot of that has to do with what Rudy Gobert gives them. He is a very efficient scorer because obviously he's mainly going to take inside looks, putbacks, dunks, all that. He's shooting 67%, almost 68% from the field. And he's got 13.4 rebounds a game, 14.4 points per game to go with 2.8 blocks a game. The man gives it to you on the defensive end. That rim protection is godlike, literally godlike. Every single time he gets into the vicinity of if someone gets into the vicinity of the rim and they see Rudy Gobert anywhere near there, they do not even try to go for it. And for those inexperienced players that do go for it, they get blocked. Easy money. That's just another one of Rudy Gobert's blocks on his career total. Easy money. And that's what he's been doing for this season for the Utah Jazz, as he's been doing for them pretty much since he came into the league. And it's the biggest reason why he's in this MVP conversation. Well, one, he's actually played a lot of games. 65 of the possible 66 games for the Utah Jazz. So he's been available. He is the reason that the biggest reason why their defense is as good as it is this season, and possibly why the Utah Jazz have the best record in the NBA. That's the cherry on top. The fact that they have the best record. That's why he's in the conversation. He's not going to win it because you're not going to give a guy who averages 14.4 points and 13.4 rebounds an MVP. That's just not going to happen. But he has done all the little things that he can do in his role to make him as valuable as possible and make that contract that he signed in the offseason worth it. Next, we got Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Butler has had an incredible season. Literally just talked about him in my last segment. 21.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, leads the league in steals as well. So he's giving you that prime time two-way action, able to score for you in multiple ways. Obviously, not from the 3-point line, 20% from there, which is easily the biggest mark on his game. 20% from the 3-point line, and you're taking 2 attempts a game. Slow your roll, buddy. But he still manages to get 49% from the field, almost 87% from the free throw line, And with that almost nightly triple-double action from him, he gives you that 2.1 steals per game to lead the NBA. I mean, I know that the Heat's record is not good. Like, actually, if you look at everybody in this top 10 tracker, his team has the worst record. So I know that for sure is the biggest asterisk on any kind of case you can make for Jimmy Butler. His team is 4 games over 500, barely in the guaranteed spot. He doesn't deserve it, for sure. On top of the fact that he hasn't even been available for a lot of games, he's only played 48 games. That takes him out of the running right there as well. So it's just all those little things that's going to take him out of the running. And I believe he is a top 10 candidate for MVP this season, even with all those factors in. That's why I appreciate him being in this list for Basketball Reference. So, because he has been that dominant when he's on the team. And the team as a whole has been that dominant when he's in the game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they are at least 11 games over 500 when he plays. 11 games over 500, and that's 48 games, so that's... Wow, shouldn't have done that, 24. So that's 35... No, God, I shouldn't have done the math. I shouldn't have done it. All right, I'm not going to even try. But regardless, I'm pretty sure they're like 11 games over 500 with him in the lineup. Because he has been that good, that valuable. He wins games in so many different ways, whether it's passing it, playing defense, taking it over for himself, and just scoring the basket. He has been that good. And that is exactly why I believe Jimmy Butler should be on this list. He has been that good, he's been that dominant, and he is my superstar. At number 8, we have Kyrie Irving. And this one's Kyrie Irving's had a great season. I mean, he's shooting 50% from the field. Like, with his style of play, that is incredible. 27 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. He's incredible. And I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's actually been available for games. I mean, 50 games played. He doesn't get to that 55 game threshold, so that's why he's not there, in the conversation. But I honestly feel like James Harden has been way more impactful than Kyrie Irving. Like, Kyrie Irving, I'm not trying to 39% from 3 as well. What was his 92% from the free throw line. So pretty much almost a 50-40-90 season from Kyrie Irving. Incredible efficiency. And he's giving you 1.4 steals a game. That's very solid. But I still believe, and I know there's certain factors leading to James Harden not getting in that conversation. But I still believe that he has been a more impactful player. But sure, just because of those factors that he can't be in the conversation, Kyrie Irving has been probably the best player for the Brooklyn Nets this season. But regardless, I still believe James Harden should be here. Damien Lillard comes in at number 9, and I do not understand why he comes in at number 9. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. He should be I think he should be over Jimmy Butler. And possibly, not Rudy Gobert. But definitely over Jimmy Butler. He should be 7th, at the least. Maybe, 7th. But still, Damian Lillard, the team is 37-29. They were without CJ McCollum for most of the season, if I'm not mistaken. The man's averaging 28 points a game, 7.6 rebounds, assists, 7.6 assists, and 4.2 rebounds on, 44% from the field, 38% from 3 on 11 attempts a game, and 92% from the free throw line. So I get it. The efficiency certainly isn't there. I get that. 44% from the field, that hurts. But he does have the most difficult job where he has literally had to create everything for that Portland Trailblazers offense. They are an ISO team. So obviously he doesn't have to do so much in terms of playmaking, but he still averages those 7 assists a game. He gives you decent defense. He's still a below average defender, but he's still a decent defender. He can still, be serviceable, I should say. And then last, we got Chris Paul. I don't know why Chris Paul is this low. The improvements he has made to this Phoenix Suns team to make them the second best team in the entire NBA. I mean, they were nowhere near this conversation before Chris Paul joined. So for him to play as well as he had this season, in continuing the development of Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and it's been Chris Paul and just his ability to just settle everything down and be the floor general that he is, and the excellent perimeter defender that he is as well. 16 points a game, 8.8 assists a game, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.4 steals. He literally does it all for your team, does it efficiently as well. He shoots 49% from the field, 38% from three, almost 39% from three. He literally does it all for that Phoenix Suns team. And there's no doubt in my mind that he should be in the MVP discussion, a top 10 discussion at least. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Hope you guys enjoyed, but make sure you stick around because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 city jerseys this season.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. If you missed the last segment, we talked about the MVP conversation or lack thereof. In that segment, we talked about every player that is in the top 10 Basketball Reference MVP tracker. I gave kind of my own case for each player and why they should at least have a consideration for MVP. So if you guys want to check that out, please go ahead and do so. But now we're going to be talking about the top 10 city jerseys in the NBA this season. Now, bear with me. I am not a fashionista. I'm not big on fashion. I literally wear basketball shorts and Crocs wherever I go. That's me. With a t-shirt. Nothing fancy up top either. Maybe I'll wear a hat. But I am not a fashion guy. That's just not who I am. But I decided, I don't want to go into my all-time list yet. I'm stalling a bit. I'm just stalling just a little bit. I don't know for what, but I'm just stalling because I really want to take my time with that top 10 all-time at each position list. Trust me. But for now, let's do a little fashion. Let's talk some city jerseys. Now, over the first couple years that these jerseys have been coming out, I've been loving them. Obviously, there's always a couple teams where I'm like, my God, what were you trying to do? Orlando this season, Cleveland this season, I don't know, Detroit this season. There's a lot of teams, even New York. There was a lot of teams I was just like, what are you doing? Boston Celtics? I get it. I understand why you were doing, at least for the Celtics. I understand, tradition, you want to make it like the banners, I get it. But it's just in the grand scheme of things, just make them look nice, man. Just make them look nice. Give it something that the fans can enjoy, want to see their favorite players wear. That's all I really cared about. But regardless, we're going to get into this now. And starting at number 10, we have the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have this nice and black and gold. Oh, and I am hoping you guys know what jerseys I'm talking about when I'm telling you this, because I am not going to be explaining this well. I'm just going to tell you right now. So it's a base. The base color of this jersey is black, and everything else around it is gold, like a nice dark gold. And I like it. I like the font that's being used. Kind of gives you that prehistoric time feel to it. Even the line underneath Toronto is nice. I also like the edges, on the arm and around the neck, where it kind of looks like it's like a sliver, or it's not just a line. It's like as if a raptor had like clawed at it. I like it, and it's not like it's 3 claws. It's just 1 claw. I like it. It's a nice detail. It looks pretty good. I love the color scheme of it. I love the black and gold. That's always, a favorite of mine, and it just appeals nice to me. Like the other ones, there were a lot of good ones. Like one that didn't make this list, and I'm sure people are going to be wondering about, is the LA Clippers. I do not like the Clippers jersey. Sure, the first year I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's all right, not bad. I mean, font's decent. But then all they did this year was just flip it to black, do the same exact jersey. And I know what people are going to say about Vice, that the Miami Heat did that, but that actually looks good. This is black and white. Like, come on. Like, we're going from, black to pink to white to blue. Like, we switch it up. We don't go from black to white. Like, come on. But that's why they don't make this list. But regardless, Toronto, I think, did enough. Have a pretty decent looking jersey here. Fits into my number 10. Now, so that you guys don't think that I'm being a homer, I'm picking the Miami Heat at number 9. Now, in recent years, the Miami Heat have been amongst the best city jerseys that we've seen out there, because Miami Vice, it just really hit, well for everybody. Everyone loved the Miami Heat Vice City jerseys. This year, like, I get it, they were going into their last year. They wanted a culmination of all the Vice City jerseys into one, and it was a good attempt, but it wasn't, the nostalgia that was Vice City when it first came out. It just doesn't have that same feel, but it's still a very nice looking jersey. I love the font for the Miami in the front with the blue going into pink, like borders for those for the Miami. And just overall, it looks really nice. Oh, and I do gotta say that UKG the sponsor that they have on their jersey, much better than the Ultimate software they had last season. Thank you. So Miami Heat get into number 9. They were never not gonna be in the top 10. Just wanted to make sure that's out there. At number 8, we have the Indiana Pacers, and just want to let you guys know right now, I am a sucker for the old school jerseys. And that obviously counts to right here, as the Indiana Pacers went old school with their striped jerseys. I love these jerseys. They make me think about those Reggie Miller days and how much fun it was to watch him absolutely trash the Knicks. And just and I don't know, it just looks super clean. Like, the striped look is totally underrated. Like, it's not in the NBA anymore, and it's I don't know why. It's super underrated. I get it, it's a bit old school. Like, this was happening more in, like, the 90s, maybe early 2000s, but for me, don't have to say much about this jersey. I just like a lot about it. The old school look of it, the stripes, even the side of it with the white and yellow there. It all looks really good. Let me even see the back. It's nothing special like that, but like still, it just looks good. It's just a homage to their old jerseys, just respecting the history, and I absolutely love it. So the Indiana Pacers go to number 8. At number 7, we have the Brooklyn Nets, and I can understand some people saying this is an amazing jersey, but I can also understand people saying that this leaves a little bit, left to be desired. Like, I don't think the Brooklyn Nets, like, I saw a website that said the Brooklyn Nets, this is by far the best jersey. Not by far, but, like, there's a second jersey that kind of, like, gets into the conversation, which I agreed on, but the Brooklyn Nets, like, I just don't like it as much. Like, what really doesn't do it for me is the name in the front. The Brooklyn Nets. Like, I just, the BKLYN Nets. Like, I get it. It's kind of, like referencing to like Brooklyn, like their street style. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's what they're doing. Like, because I guess that's like street ball. Like, that's supposed to be like the court or whatever. But regardless, I do like the paint on the sides. I think that looks really nice. I even like the little outline that you see in the jersey, like throughout with the little arrows. Like, I like that. That all looks very nice to me. It's just that first part, it's such a big part of the jersey. I even like the yellow font color for the names on the back. I like that. It all looks really nice. It's just that front logo. It looks really garbage to me. Like, I can't even be nice about it. It does look garbage to me. It just, I don't know. I wouldn't want it. Like, I'd probably buy it if I was a Nets fan. I mean, let's be honest. But I just don't like it. It doesn't tell me anything there. But everything else about the jersey is nice. Thing is, every other jersey going forward, I absolutely love for so many different reasons. So at number 6, we have the Denver Nuggets. And I'll tell you right here and right now, I absolutely love those old school jerseys of the Denver Nuggets. They're obviously changing the colors of them now. They're kind of getting into that sunshine color style that the Utah Jazz were using for a little while. I think last year they had one that was kind of similar in color style. But it just goes so well with that logo of the mountains with Denver skyscrapers there. It just looks so clean. And then with the red, I love the red. Like, I'm a Heat fan. Like, I love red. And it just looks so good. And low key, I absolutely love when teams go like opposite colors, not the Houston Rockets and their blue jerseys. I hated them. Absolutely hated them. But something like this where it just looks right. Like Denver, I don't know why, but I think like dark blue when I think Denver. So when I see this red, it just makes, I don't know, it pleases me, I should say. So that is why the Denver Nuggets come in at number 6, because they have pleased the eye of Steven Melendez. So next at number 5, we've got the Utah Jazz. And I could give the Utah Jazz the same thoughts that I gave to the Los Angeles Clippers jersey, where they just flipped it. But this is different. Like, they flipped it in an aesthetically pleasing way. And I also need to say that those Utah Jazz jerseys from last year, beautiful. One of my favorite jerseys in the entire season. These, I don't like them as much. I don't like the black base as much. Like Utah, I would have put them, that last year's jersey, in the top 3 for sure, because that's how much I liked that jersey. But the Utah Jazz this year, the black looks nice, makes you feel, like they're getting serious. I don't know, like you want to kind of give some kind of meaning to it. Sure, still got those sunshine colors there with the red going into the yellow, the orange and yellow. It looks really, really nice. I just wish that it would have gone a little bit more into the jersey. I understand maybe they didn't want to have it behind the word Utah, like they wanted more black on Utah, so it pops more. I get that. But I just think maybe a little bit more of those sunshine colors, and I would have liked it a lot more. But still, beautiful jersey. Everything about it just looks really nice. And, of course, you got Donovan Mitchell, who will be wearing it, which looks so good, of course. And, yeah, so at number 4, we got the Golden State Warriors. Now, I adore these jerseys. These jerseys were actually being worn by the Golden State Warriors when I first got into basketball. So this has a lot of sentimental value as well. Like, obviously, I'm not a Golden State Warriors fan, but it just makes me feel back to those like early days of me watching basketball. And these were some great jerseys, like underrated jerseys. And now just bringing them back, it just feels right for the Golden State Warriors. Kind of going back to their roots. Obviously, the championship, window is kind of closing, and they're kind of going into a new era. Even though obviously still got Steph Curry, still got Draymond, Clay waiting in the wings. So this could all be a distant memory in a year, but at the moment, I love this jersey. Just talking about the jersey, the dark blue, the red stripes on the the color, the arms and the neck area. It looks nice, and it goes really well with the Oakland name on there. And I love that they're going with Oakland and not the town or the city that they've gone with over the past couple seasons. Oakland, it kind of just paying homage to their city, which is it's perfect since it's the city edition jersey. It all works well. The sentimental value, just the nostalgia of it, all of it makes me feel like this is a very, very good jersey, and makes me put it over, aesthetically pleasing jerseys like the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. At number 3, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. And at first, I was like, I don't know. Because I just wasn't really vibing with it. Like the all white, the baby blue. I was just like, I mean, is that really all? Like, is that all they're going to put? Like, it's the Lakers. But then I started remembering that this is a very similar version of the jerseys they had back in the day when I believe they were called the Minnesota or the Minneapolis Lakers. And obviously it's not the exact same, but it's, it's super similar, paying homage to those old jerseys, but also adding their own, twist to it, their modern twist, which when I finally realized that, it made me love this jersey so much more. It looks, because it still looks really nice. Like I remember when the Heat came out with those white hot jerseys, and we were hyped. Like it was simple. It was all white, black outline, and that was it. It's kind of similar here, where it's all white, with the baby blue to pay homage to those old jerseys that were super fire, and still keep your clean look. And so that's why the Los Angeles Lakers come in at number 3. At number 2, now this is where, in my opinion, these city jerseys take a different level of incredibleness. I was running out of words to say, so I was just saying whatever came to my mind. But the Phoenix Suns and their Valley jerseys come in at number 2. Beautiful jerseys. Black. They have the colors, the mountain looking. I know it's like, to me it looks like a sound bar. Like when you're looking at on the, I don't know what you call it, but the audio machine, where you're looking at how the dB levels are. That's what that looks like to me. But I know it's kind of paying homage to the Arizona mountains and all that. So I like that part of it. I like that it represents the city. I love that it looks so nice. Like I'd buy that jersey. I'm not even a Suns fan. Like I'd probably get that jersey if it's possible. And it just, to me, it's one of the nicest jerseys out there this season. Not just talking about City Edition jersey. And when I first saw it, I was like, wow. Like, what a jersey from the Phoenix Suns. And then on top of that, to be as good as they are this season, it all adds up to just beautiful, beautiful destiny. So, last, we're now going to be talking about the obvious number 1 jersey in the NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, it just looks so freaking nice. I mean, the way that Memphis just kind of goes across the jersey like that, just lowercase, super chill, just there in gold, no less. The font on the number looks clean with that stripe in the middle of it. And can I get into the stripes on the what is it, on the side of the jerseys and by the neck? Like, what? MG in crazy, I don't know, lettering and fonts, like with I don't know, with just super cool designs. Like, I know that's what it is. MG, Memphis Grizzlies, like the whole time, but it just looks so good. Like, that, to me, is the best part of the jersey. On top of the outline that the jersey actually has, those little stripes that go down the jersey, like, it just all looks so clean. It is such a nice jersey, and I absolutely love it. So that's why that jersey comes in at number 1 and is the best city jersey in the NBA this season. But that's going to wrap it up for this show. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thank you for listening to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.